And cleared by Blint. We're in the last minute of the 90. Mitrovic challenging with Smalling. Dummett! Newcastle United are level again. Right at the death. Paul Dummett with just his second ever Premier League goal to make it 3-3.
Hello and welcome to episode 5 of the Chronicles Express with me, Andy, from the Red Devil Chronicle. This week, a 6-goal thriller involving United, from philosophy to kamikaze. United chat coming up next. Hello, welcome along then. It's just me, Andy, from the Red Devil Chronicle with you this week. Unfortunately, studio won't be back available until next week, so you're just going to have to put up with me for one more week. I'm going to kick off the show and the United chat this week, going through the Tuesday night game, of course, that against Newcastle. Newcastle United 3, Manchester United 3. What a topsy-turvy game. And very few positives ultimately come from it. Yes, United got involved in a game of football. That was refreshing to see. And yes, we scored 3 goals, but it was against an awful Newcastle team, and we conceded 3 goals in the process of scoring them. Going on to the negatives then, or the more realistic side of things, I'm actually going to leave Louis van Gaal alone to a certain extent this week. What I will say on Louis van Gaal is that why play Fellaini in central midfield? He clearly doesn't work in that position and hasn't since he's come to United. He offered no protection to the back four. He left Schneiderlin with 2 men's work to do between himself, and he couldn't do it. And that ultimately led to Newcastle getting back into the game and creating chances. As I say, no protection offered. Fellaini couldn't put a challenge in because he'd been booked early doors. But was he taken off? No. He was left on the pitch the whole 90 minutes whilst players like Ander Herrera, who had one of his better games for United, having finally been given a chance in the first team, and players like Jesse Lingard, who, yes, missed a sitter and, yes, was coming back from injury, but again, one of our better players, taken off whilst Fellaini left, sat in the middle of the pitch, unable to influence the game in any way, unable to provide a challenge, constantly under threat of being sent off. What a strange decision. Other than that, my only other criticism that I would give to Louis van Gaal, having seemingly set up the team rather well and let them go out and play football in an expansive manner for the opening 20-25 minutes, is the lack of game management. Having gone 2-0 up away from home at Newcastle, having played nearly the perfect half of football away from home, yes, Newcastle had a couple of chances around the half-hour mark and they got back into the game. But at 2-0 at half-time, if we had held it that way, it was almost a perfect away performance from United. And after the dire sort of performances we've seen of late, I would have gladly taken that. But yet again, game management poor from Louis van Gaal, having got himself into a really good position and his United side into a great position to go on and win the game, just to go and see it out. He could have been boring for all I cared. Once we were 2-0 up, if he wanted to sit back, if he wanted us to defend that out, absolutely fine. We've seen a couple of goals, we've played well away from home, we'd counter-attacked well. So why not sit in, wait for Newcastle to come onto us and hit them on the counter again? Would have been perfect, was working really well. However, having made the joke on Twitter last night that the message from Louis van Gaal to get onto the pitch was struggling because he refuses to get off his seat, I actually think it was actually now quite serious. I don't think the message to stop playing that expansive football, to stop taking the game to Newcastle, actually made it onto the pitch. And as a result of that, United continued to press forward, were caught out as Newcastle got back into the game, and it was poor from Chris Smalling, and Fellaini knocks it down straight onto Wijnaldum's foot. Great volley, good goal, and Newcastle were back in it at half-time. We were looking comfortable up till then, and even at half-time, yeah, the goal had gone in, but at 2-1 we looked more than comfortable, and we should have been comfortable in the second half as well. However, the United of old just had to return, didn't they? Second half looked a completely different team. It's like we'd gone into the dressing room and all confidence had suddenly been sucked out of us. And after a great positive start with, a dubious penalty, well taken by Wayne Rooney, so, take your luck when you can get it. And a lovely ball from Wayne Rooney, I might add, to play in Lingard for the second. Rooney was fantastic on the night. Not often we've been able to say that, so I will say it whilst we get the opportunity, so producer Joe doesn't lynch me. Lovely performance from him. A couple of great goals in there. Really well taken penalty. Wonderful third goal as well. And much more like it from Rooney. Finally responding as a captain. Finally digging us out of a difficult situation. Also, we thought... of course, Newcastle got back to 2-2. Poor defending again from Chris Smalling, who had a shocker of an evening, conceding the penalty. Mitrovic took his penalty as well as Wayne Rooney did as well. And then from there, really, we completely fell apart. The problem is, if Chris Smalling has a bad game, the whole back four has a bad game. And as I mentioned, with Fellaini being the supporting role next to Schneiderlin, nearly non-existent, our back four looked very vulnerable at every occasion. And at any time any pressure was put on, Newcastle looked like they could have scored, plenty more than the 3 that they did in the end as well. And this is why, for me, this highlights that we still need a right back or a left back backup player. Someone that can properly play in that position rather than someone like Ashley Young being forced into that position when in fact we know full well that he can do a much better job further up the pitch. Also highlights why we need another centre-back to support Chris Smalling. So if he is having a bad game, we need a top-class centre-back next to him so that he has got support there, rather than Daley Blind, who has performed well, as we've said on many occasions in that role, but he's not a top-class centre-back and will not take United to success going forward. As a result of that, it looked like we'd thrown the game away at that point. Suddenly... United got that goal, of course. Wayne Rooney, as I say, great strike to make it 3-2. And we thought we'd seen an entertaining game of football, which we'd got away with one, really. Game management should have been better, as I say. I thought personally we'd got away with the win. But, you've got to play to the final whistle. That's what Sir Alex Ferguson's United were well known for. That's what United became well known for as a result of that. And that's what we should be doing. However, we shut off again. Take nothing away from Dummett's strike. Yes, deflection off Smalling. Can't blame him for that one. Will blame him for the other 2 on the night, but won't blame him for that. Great strike from Dummett. Ends up in the top corner. Newcastle go home absolutely delighted. I was absolutely fuming. I know Nick felt the same. Very few positives, as I say, to get from that, in the fact that we were playing an awful relegation-threatened Newcastle team, who hadn't scored, bear in mind, for 4 games in a row in all competition prior to the game against United. So obviously they go and bag 3 against us. This is exactly where we're up to at the moment. This is a United of old returning far too often. And having looked like we'd played a really good first half of football, we threw it away. We completely ruined it. We spoilt the performance. We went and killed the atmosphere of the game, but we didn't kill the game in the end. And this is down to us not being ruthless enough for me. Wayne Rooney, for all that he did good on the evening, on Tuesday night, had a great chance one-on-one against Colaccini on one of our many counter-attacks. Should have done more with it, instead ran straight at Colaccini. Someone like Martial, I said, should be playing up front in that position on the counter-attack. He would have had Colaccini for breakfast. That would have been a goal-scoring opportunity without a doubt. That aside, though, Lingard, of course, had a chance. He was probably taken off for missing it, knowing Louis van Gaal. But great chance for Lingard at 2-1. Should have wrapped the game up, but didn't. And again, that's the problem. Have not got the quality in that position yet. And, of course, Fellaini, again, I need to go back to him. What a ball in it was. From Memphis as well, who'd come on. Played well against Sheffield United. The less said about that game, the better, though. But a great ball in from Memphis, right onto the head of Fellaini. Could not miss, did miss. And again, ultimately, we paid the price for it. We've dropped 2 points, and it's down to the lack of taking chances. We certainly created enough, but we didn't score as many as we should have done. That game should have been 4, 5, maybe even 6. But even if it had been 3, it should have been 3-1 with Lingard. I don't think Newcastle would have come back from that position. Speaking of position, is Mata's position under threat? Finally dropped by Louis van Gaal after a run of poor form. He said he wanted pace on the wing, so Martial went and played out on the right-hand side. We asked him not to play on the left, so that's where he ended up. And of course, Lingard introduced onto the other wing. Now, although I don't like Martial being played out on the wing, it worked really well last night. Great battle that he had with Dummett. all night. Really took the game to him, played a couple of lovely balls in, always looks a threat. I wish we had someone like Martial to play out on the wing to create the chances for someone like Martial in the box. Unfortunately, he can't create the chances for himself as yet. But is Mata's position under threat, though? He has been in a poor run of form. He was given a couple of auditioned games in central attacking midfield or number 10, whichever role you want to call it. He didn't play particularly well. He didn't shine. I personally think he needed more time in that situation, but with the way the Premier League moves and with the battle for top four ever heating up, we can't afford to be taking chances. So let us know at We Follow United. One matter: is his position under threat at United? Is there a chance that players like Lingard, Januzaj coming back in, if Memphis picks up form, if we do get a backup wing back and Ashley Young starts to play forward, will Juan Mata get in that team? Be interested to hear your thoughts on that. As I say, though, at the end of it all, Tuesday night, great disappointment in the end. 2 big points dropped. It was inexcusable and unacceptable to get anything less than the 3 points on the night, and we did. Really poor from us. We should be doing better than that. I'm going to take it over to some of your views on the game. I've clearly had enough of my say by now. Newcastle against United, then. We asked you for your one-line review of the game and score out of 10 for the performance. We've got a couple come in here. At TSRT, Chris Laker says, better going forward, same issues at the back, 6 out of 10. We've got one here at Cogsy666, disappointed but only ourselves to blame, 5 out of 10. At Ashley Rolls 1-5, still not good enough. This is the problem. At Amit911 says 2 wins in 12 as well. Crap is his verdict on it, and hard to disagree really. 2 wins in 12 is an absolute shambles. And this is the problem for me. A real big opportunity has been missed by Manchester United. We could have gone 3 straight wins. Yep, the game against Swansea we didn't play for the first half. It was slightly better second. The Sheffield United game, it was a disaster, but it was still a win. If we go and win against Newcastle last night, as we should have done and easily could have done, then that would have been 3 wins in a row, to get rid of the memory of the 8 without a win. Prior to that, it really could have given us a platform to step on with a lot of big fixtures to come. And of course, now we are dropping down the table and top 4 is looking potentially in doubt. Real big problems still at United, clear to see. I think we also need to sign a defensive midfielder because I'm not sure how long Carrick is going to be with the club anymore. In and out of the squad due to injury, form, fitness. He isn't getting any younger. And Schweinsteiger still concerns me. Capable of running a game when you are in front, but doesn't look very good trying to get you into a game. Hasn't seemingly got the legs. Something that was pointed out by Bayern Munich fans before the sale went ahead, and something sadly that is proving to be true. That's all I've got to say though for the United chat this week in terms of the Newcastle game. Going to get some of your opinions from the fan takeover. We had another great one on Monday afternoon. So next up, we're going to hear what you had to say on this week's fan takeover. So this Monday, as we do every single Monday from 12 o'clock in the afternoon, we put out there some of the big questions and stir up some great debates with fellow United fans to discuss. Always good fun to get involved in, so do always look out for it. And when we're back in the studio next week, we will also have the fan phone-in back as well. So if you ever want to be involved in that, really simple, really easy to set up, just let us know. Direct messages or just tweet us at We Follow United if you're interested. We'd love to have your opinions shared on next week's show when Nick and Joe are back with us as well. Going to dive straight in, just a couple of topics to discuss from a slightly shorter fan takeover this Monday. First question that we asked you this week, what would you say is the most important issue for United to address first? Probably could add some extra options to this. We could only have 4 in there. You could probably add the backbone of Arsenal after last night's performance, or Tuesday night's performance rather. And you could also say as well in there, fan expectation. Is that the most important issue to address? That could be another one that could have gone in there as well, because a lot of people were happy to have dropped 2 points at Newcastle. Is that really how far we've come down as a club? Real disappointment for me. And please do get in touch with us at WeFireUnited on Twitter or in the comments section below. Tuesday night's performance, are you really happy with a point from that game? Just because we played entertaining football? Because it was a match that people enjoyed watching? Let us know your thoughts on that. Getting back to the question and the 4 options that we did give to you on the most important issue for United to address first. We had lack of option, slow build-up, wrong positions, or the manager. Perhaps no surprise to the final results of this one. 50% of all the votes went with the manager. Louis van Gaal apparently is United's biggest issue to address first. Can completely understand why people do say that, but I do think players need to take more responsibility for themselves in certain performances, Tuesday night being a prime example. In terms of the other options, 26% second place went to slow build-up, 16% with lack of pace, and the other 8% with wrong positions. Just fire through some of the comments that came in on Twitter just to let you know what other fans had to say on this one. Let us know if you agree or disagree with any of these that come in. We've got one here from SHSL United fan. Where's the all of the above option? I think universally accepted. They are all big problems for United, which is why I asked which of them you'd address first. You have to prioritise, so you can only pick one, I'm afraid. At Cogsy666 agrees, have to say all of the above. So people having problems choosing their preference on this one. And we've got one at C Clay 1978 United. Chris Clay goes, as Andy said, round pegs, square holes. Absolutely right, Chris. If Louis van Gaal did that, it would allow players to play. We would see a quicker style with this. Yep, completely with Chris on this one. Anyone that read my article on the Daisy Cutter will know all about this article that I put out there last week. Essentially just asking Louis van Gaal to put players in their right positions, because ultimately the problem of this sort of disjointed, slow, struggling attacking football, I think, is purely coming from the fact that very few of our attacking players are being utilised in their correct positions. And as a result of that, it is, causing the slow build-up. It is, causing a lack of pace to the play. I know we need more pace in terms of the squad, but the intent is not there. And so, despite the fact that it is the lowest option given in terms of the vote, only 8% of fans went with it. I'm saying wrong positions. Yeah, it's easy to turn around and blame Louis van Gaal, and he's at fault for a lot of what's gone wrong. But a lot of these other options that you see within that question are down to the manager as well as the players. So it's a difficult one to try and quantify, and I can see why everyone went for the manager, because he's causing a lot of the problems. But it's really simple for me. Just put the right players in the right positions in an attacking area. You're going to get more threat from it. You're probably going to create more chances. The speed will be quicker because it's more natural. That's my thoughts anyway. Let me know if you agree or disagree with that. I think it's, as I say, accepted across the board, and I certainly accept it. All 4 of those are problems, and a whole lot more at United as well. Moving on to the second topic from this week's Fan Takeover. Which competition would you prioritise as the main focus? Options being Premier League, FA Cup and Europa League. Results coming in as 69% for the Premier League, 24% Europa League, and the other 7% going FA Cup. And I think that's a fair enough breakdown, to be honest with you. I think, as I've mentioned in previous podcasts, in my opinion, Premier League has to be the priority. Yes, winning the Europa League gets you an automatic place in the Champions League, but as I've mentioned previously, I do not want this habit of United crawling, down the table, disappearing into the abyss of mid-table and Europa League contenders. I want us to be in that top 4 every season. At the very least, that's where we should be. And at the moment, we are giving teams a great chance to get in the top 4. We are handing our position over, and we can't. So that has to be the priority and the main focus for me. I agree with the way the fans have run through this, actually, because I would then put Europa League second, because, of course, there's a chance to qualify for a Champions League spot if you win it, so I can understand the priority there. Only 7% going for the FA Cup, not been won in 12 years this year. Says it all, really. Wouldn't a cup make the mood slightly improved around Old Trafford? Possibly. Would it be better than getting top 4? Probably not. Moving on to the fans' views who got involved in the comments section below. At AXAS23, that of course Alex from the United stand, thanks for getting involved. He goes Europa League, as we have no chance of winning the Premier League now, and I don't even think we'll get top 4, so we need to win Europa League for Champions League football. At Chris Clay, or at C Clay 1978 United, agree totally with Alex, and we have to believe we can win it. I understand why some fans would go with it. As I've just said, the fact that you can qualify for the Champions League through winning it is, a good price to have at the end of it. And I think that's what keeps any sort of seriousness to the competition, to be honest, in the knockout stages. But I agree with Alex. We're not going to win the Premier League. Absolutely not. Some people might think we are. I personally don't think we've got any chance in hell of winning the Premier League. And I also think we are now struggling, and we are nearly handing away our top 4 spot as well, as Alex says. So with that in mind, I would prioritise everything into the Premier League to make sure we do get top 4, to make sure we qualify for Europe that way. That would be the way I'd go about it. But that's just my thoughts on things. Going back to the comment section, at Alan Cohen 1975, I think you have to be realistic and say the FA Cup is the only one we're likely to win. Sad, and I'm not even sure that's true either, because Arsenal, City are going to be right up there. Chelsea are going to be looking for something to turn their miserable season around as well, so they'll probably be gunning for it there. At Big C 75, titles out of reach, completely agree. FA Cup is fantastic and overdue, but Europa League is a way into the Champions League if we don't get 4th. Yeah, a lot of people saying the same sort of things, but overall I think the vote reflects the way that this plays out for me as well. Prioritise everything into the Premier League, not necessarily to go and win it, although why not? If other teams are going to stutter and stumble, and there's no consistency really in the league or the performances this season, why don't we go out and try and win it? But if we can't, which we probably can't, sadly, even if we were to go and strengthen in January, you'd have to ask for an immediate impact from those that came in to have any chance. But we should be up there. We should be securing top 4. Do not get into this habit of letting United slip down the table. That's my thought. Final question from this week's Fan Takeover. Is this the most important 12 months in United's history? Now, I'm sad we haven't got Nick with us on this week's podcast, because it was him who asked me to put the question out there on this week's Fan Takeover. Probably would have been better to have him to explain this one. I think what I gather from this question is simply that with the way United are going backwards at the moment, we can almost see ourselves becoming the next Liverpool. 5-10 years down the line, that is what we could be. A previous giant of the Premier League and of English football, cast into the abyss, into mid-table mediocrity. And we are going at rate of knots in the wrong direction. We are going fast the wrong way, so we need to turn it around pretty quick. And as a result of that, I think Nick makes a valid point in asking the question, to put it out there to generate debate. It's a very important 12 months for United, because the next managerial decision has to be absolutely right, and we've already missed a couple of key targets within this, bear in mind, and also the re-strengthening and rebuilding of the squad is vital. We can't be letting a lot of players go, this year. We've got to keep some depth in the squad this year. Even if it is potentially deadwood, we need more in terms of backups. We've all seen what injuries can do to squads. Even the biggest and best squads in the league at the moment can be impacted greatly by a couple of key injuries. So I think we need to draw the line on cutting any more deadwood for now. I think we need a really big summer in terms of our board picking their game up and going out and getting the targets that we often talk about, that we often hear about in the press and the papers, but we never seem to get. We need to go out and get those players now. We need to strengthen big time. We need a lot more quality introduced into the squad. And, of course, as I say, the management decision is vital. Will Louis van Gaal be given the final 12 months of his contract? Hopefully not. In my opinion, we have to go out and get whoever is available. And as I say, we are missing out on key targets already, so we have to act very quickly. Now, the results of the poll on this question, 52% of fans went with yes, it is the most important 12 months in United's history. 48% went with no. So very close, barely anything to choose between the two options on this one. Diving straight into the comments section, on this one. Where are we? At Nazanto, I think post Fergie, yes, it would be. At Copious Opium, falling from that level would be unthinkable. I nearly said no and thought of the post-Munich years. Yeah, obviously understandable. And I think Nick obviously appreciates within the question he asked about obviously the post-Munich years. They were obviously the toughest times for the football club. But as I say, I think what was meant by Nick's questioning was in terms of the success that this club has become used to. You know, if we don't get this right, we could really fall backwards for a long time with the way other clubs are developing. So, you know, I understand the point. And there's a couple, obviously, mentioned about the post-Munich years. Obviously, you know, a very, very difficult time for the club. A very difficult rebuilding task as well. But I think potentially over the last sort of 10, 15 years, it's got to be right up there. Maybe even more, maybe even 20, 25 years. Could be the most important 12 months for United, certainly in our more recent history, perhaps. And certainly, as I say, in terms of not falling behind other clubs. With the way other clubs are progressing now at great speed, we have to make sure that we're sticking by them and looking to overtake them as well. That's it for this week's Fan Takeover. Thanks to every single one of you that got involved in the comment section, every one of you that voted. We always appreciate your input. And as I say, next week when we return to the studio, we will have the return of the fan phone-in, so let us know if you are interested. And we're going to end this week's show with the weekend preview. Of course, we travel to Anfield. Huge game, Liverpool's cup final. Can United do it? We're going to discuss it next. It's the 2:05 kickoff. It's Liverpool against Manchester United. It's the weekend preview to end the Chronicles Express this week. Both teams involved then, of course, in 3-3 thrillers midweek. Try saying that one again. So we're going to have a quick look ahead of the game into the current form of the teams. Who's in, who's out, how would we set up if we were Louis van Gaal to win the game against Liverpool. I'm going to start with the home team on the Sunday afternoon kickoff. Liverpool currently 10th in the form guide in the Premier League at the moment, just 8 points from their last 6 games. 2 wins, 2 draws and 2 defeats within that. And at home, they're not much better either at the moment. 2 wins again at home, 3 draws, but only 1 defeat in their home games in the last 6. And of course, this Liverpool team under Klopp have beaten City and Chelsea away this season, also held Tottenham as well, but the common denominator in that is that they were all away fixtures. The only team of note that they've won against in the Premier League that are up there at the moment are Leicester, of course. Over the Christmas period, they scraped a 1-0. So pressure has been on the home side when they've played at Anfield, not been as free-flowing, not been as attacking, and not as good in terms of their results against the bigger clubs as they have been away under Klopp. So there's something for me that we can get at straight away. Now, they also have a number of key players missing. Of course, Coutinho, their main man, is going to be out for the game. Also missing players like Origi, who's come in and done a half-decent job after being sent out on loan. Skirtle and Lovren both missing. You'd think that would improve them, but surprisingly, they have even worse in terms of their backups. Daniel Sturridge, a big one, rumoured that he could be a 50-50 shot for the game. I would say even if he is fit enough for the game, probably make the bench, and he's certainly not going to be 100%. So, I think hopefully we'll be able to handle him, not coming back. He's not played for a while, not been consistently in the team. So I think that's something we should be able to handle, even if he does come on from the bench. I say that now, of course. We'll see what happens Sunday afternoon. Moving on to Manchester United and their side of things, rather depressing reading it makes for 18th in the form guide in the league currently. 5 points from our last 6 games, only 1 win, of course, against Swansea, 2 draws, 3 defeats. Away from home, we're winless in 4. Again, just the 1 win in our last 6 away, that was against Watford. 3 draws and 2 defeats. So we last won away in November. Winless away December. We're hoping that doesn't continue into January as well. Now, of course, if you remember the reverse fixture to try and get away from the rather negative feelings around United's current form, Martial, of course, made the big impression on his debut, of course, against Liverpool in the reverse fixture at Old Trafford. And I personally think we need to treat the game as though we're playing at Old Trafford against them. I think we need to go and take the game to Liverpool, put them under pressure, get the fans on their back rather than behind them. We noticed this was a problem against Newcastle when the fans weren't behind the team, when the atmosphere was down at St James's Park on Tuesday night. We dominated the game. We could have run away with the game, and we should be doing the same again at Anfield. If the atmosphere goes down at Anfield, then, it could be an easy day for United. Of course, we all know what happened last year. Edged it in the end 2-1. Didn't really reflect the dominance that we had. That first half performance, one of the best you're likely to see from us at Anfield during our time. But I really think we take the game to Liverpool. We test their second string back four that they've got at the moment wherever possible. And I would look to make Mignolet suffer wherever possible as well. Not in great form at the moment. He's just signed his new 5-year deal, but his confidence is extremely low at the moment. So I would certainly look to test them wherever possible. Obviously, in doing so, we need to be cautious of their counter-attack, which has been very good throughout the course of the season. You'd imagine Firmino was going to play as the false nine again after the success it had against City, and of course on Wednesday night against Arsenal. And so the way I would set up if I was Louis van Gaal, I would have liked to have three in my midfield to combat their counter-attacks. However, with Schweinsteiger a major doubt, Carrick, of course, he hasn't played. He's been injured for a long time. I think it might be too much of a risk to bring them into games like this, even if they were past fit for the game. And we all know about Louis van Gaal's red zones as well, don't we? So the team I would go for on that basis is 4-2-3-1, sticking, unfortunately, with a formation that hasn't particularly worked. I would have gone 4-3-3, but as I say, I personally am not sure about how fit our midfield is going to be. So I'm going to line it up like this. David De Gea in goal. The forgotten Varela, he can come back in at right back. Smalling and Blind can stay as centre backs, and Darmian at left back. Schneiderlin and Herrera are going to play in the midfield. Yeah, there's been a lot of criticism for Herrera in that defensive midfield role, but you don't have to play him as a defensive midfielder just because you're playing a 2. He can sort of be the central midfielder of the 2, leave Schneiderlin to do the sort of defensive side of things, and let Herrera just fill that gap and play almost like in the way that Matic and Fabregas worked well last season for Chelsea. Play it in that way. That's the way I would go. You could also drop Wayne Rooney into the midfield as well to form a 3 where you need to. It's another option available. But if you're not and you are going for the 4-2-3-1, then I would go Young on the right-hand side. I've mentioned plenty about him of late being misused, and that recently his end product has been much better. So let's give him a chance on the right wing. Wayne Rooney would sit in the attacking midfield roles in the centre. Lingard over to the left wing. Thought he looked bright, plenty of pace to the team against Newcastle. Yes, missed a sitter, a great opportunity to make it 3-1. But, plenty of promise there, one of our better players midweek. So let's get him back in there as well. And Martial, I think you have to play up front with that pace available to him. He tore Liverpool's defence apart last time out at Old Trafford. I think we've got to let him do that again against a weakened Liverpool back four that we're playing this time round. So that's the way I would go about it. Let us know at We Follow United or in the comments section below, what team would you go for against Liverpool? How would you set up to beat Liverpool at Anfield? Will we win on the day as well? Let us know your score predictions. We have got the Premier League Predictor League running. Still, you get 3 points if you get the correct result and scoreline, 1 point if it's just the correct result. In terms of my score prediction for the game, to end the show, I'm going to be bold. I'm going to say that United are going to nick it 2-1 again, as we did last season at Anfield. Going to try and be positive about it. I'm going to say that Liverpool's lack of first-team players, with the number of injuries they have in key positions, and with the pressure they've been put on at home as well, with the expectation under Klopp not quite making it at Anfield, I'm thinking that we can go there and get an unexpected 3 points when everyone else will be writing us off. Of course, let's not forget that we're on a bad run of form going into some crucial games last season, including Liverpool after the Tottenham game. And we all know what happened there. Incredible display out of nothing. So let's go and do it again. 2-1 for me for Manchester United. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let us know, again, at We Follow United on Twitter, in the comments section below. and be interested to hear from you with regards to any of the debates or any of the topics that we've covered on this week's podcast. I better get going. I don't want to be caught up in the traffic, do I? Louis van Gaal will be worried. So I'm going to get going, but we should be back in the studio next week. Thanks as always for listening. Let's hope we can go and get the win at Anfield.